So what we're doing this evening, thank you once again for coming here to Borough Hall, learning how to make yourself, get your life a little healthier, get yourself on the right track. We're going to be talking mostly and all about plant-based eating tonight. I'll share a quick little tidbit. I myself had gone plant-based about 4 months ago. Listening to the Borough President talk, we had Dr. Greger. I've recognized some faces. We had Dr. Greger here back in September. Just all the things that I've learned about really how to get healthy and how harmful eating too much of anything could be. Now, if you think about your diet, if you think about what you eat for breakfast, if you think about what you eat for lunch, and if you think about what you eat for dinner, you take all that meat and all that dairy and you put it aside. It's a lot of meat. It's a lot of dairy. Your body doesn't need all that. I'm learning a lot about what dairy actually does to your body, what the animal protein does to your body, how it clogs your arteries, how the long-term effects of all that food and how it affects you, and why we have such high rates of obesity, why our children in elementary school and middle school are pre-diabetic. And if they're not obese, they might be thin, but does not mean that they're healthy. So we really need to think about all these things. I'm not going to talk too long. We have a long program tonight. But yeah, no, you're here. This is, we hope, not the first time that we see you here. We're going to continue doing this. We have a plant-based meetup on February 5th. You can meet people who are working on this issue, who are trying to advance the education around plant-based. Now, this is not about labeling yourself a vegan or a plant-based. This is about getting yourself healthy. This is about getting your family healthy. This is about being kind to our earth, being conscientious about what we're doing to our animals. This is about just being a better you. So I applaud you for being here tonight. And without further ado, I introduce Borough President Eric Adams.
Atalia has been amazing. I remember when I became the Borough President, she came in. She was, I was thinking about leaving, doing some other things, and I just read your bio and your vision, and I just want to be a part of it. And she just has taken this health stuff, the lactation room downstairs where mothers can breastfeed their babies. That's Atalia's idea. It's not an emergency, teaching people how not to use the emergency room for primary care. Atalia, she's just really is amazing, doing some good things, and we want to thank her for that. How many of you are here around the health issue for the first time? Wow, that's good. Good stuff. Spread it. Tell friends, tell loved ones. Mother was here 2 weeks ago, I think it was. She was here. Dr. Dunaev, he has become our family doctor. He was here when Dr. Greger was here. She was here for one of his visits. Mommy, 2 months plant-based, 2 months. And she called me 2 weeks ago and she says, baby, the doctor told me I don't have to use my insulin anymore. 79 years old. All those years of injecting herself, which, you just don't know how that made me feel. And she's going to eventually be off her heart medicine, her high blood. She was on high blood medicine for 52 years. And she's going to be able to get off the high blood pressure medicine. When we were at the doctor's the other day, she was walking with her walker. And I said, Mommy, you got a little pep in your step now, And, it was a transition. Southerner, used to that Southern food. The same area of your brain where pleasure comes from, drugs, cocaine, alcohol, all of those pleasures is the same area of the brain where the food that you desire. So you are an addict. We are all hooked on junk food. So don't get upset with yourselves if, like Mommy did. She called me one day. When she was starting the transition, she was saying, I ate this and ate that. I said, Mommy, you got to wean yourself off of drugs. Just as you have to wean yourself off the drug, you have to wean yourself off food. Trust me when I tell you, the same urges a crack addict has, you have when you miss that cheese, you miss that steak, you miss that poison, because it's the same area of the brain. And if you go online and look at the research is amazing what these doctors are doing, PCRM, Physician Committee for Responsible Medicine. Just go online and look at some of these research. Do a TED Talk on the impact of the food, and it's going to blow your mind how we talk about the drug dealers standing on our corners. No, the drug dealers are in the pharmaceutical companies who are selling this drug to us and have us hooked on this drug. Mother was taking 3 medications for her diabetes, and it was still high at a dangerous level. She was taking drugs for her high blood pressure, still high. Drugs for her cholesterol, still high. Drugs for her whatever else, the whole American package. All those drugs still having the same problem, because the goal was never to wean her off. The goal was, as any drug pusher would do, the goal is to keep you on the drugs. If you're weaned off, then what does that mean? And so what we're doing here is really empowering you. And those of you who have loved ones and family members and aunts and uncles and aunties and nephews and nieces, someone, you have autism in your family, go read Broccoli and what it does to autism, people who have autistic behavior flare-ups, and what broccoli does, it outshadows all medicine they have now dealing with autism by giving young people broccoli who's dealing with autistic issues. So the power is in the food. And it's not an easy journey. Some people do it cold turkey like me. Some people go in and out for a little while. But when you find your stride and you free yourself from it, your life is unbelievable what happens. And just take your time. Good books to know is Forks Over Knife Meal Plan. It's a great book. It teaches you how first to do breakfast one week, lunch the next, dinner the next. It shows you a list of food you can buy. It shows you items that you can do. Of course, Dr. Greger, what we consider to be the nutritional Bible for us, is a must-read. Give it away as to family members. But it's an important piece of material that really gives you the basic information on how to start the journey. And explore. Sundays are my explore day. I never cooked before. My favorite meal was toast, and I would burn that 80% of the time. But explore. Go down to, what's the spice place down on Atlantic Avenue? Sahadi's. Get all those spices. Just buy all those spices off the rack and find the combinations that you enjoy. Learn how to mix vinegar with lemon to get the salty taste that your tongue desires. Your tongue has spots on it that for different tastes that it needs. Learn the power of dates. Instead of eating, you have that sugar urge, pop a date in your mouth. Fruits are not bad for diabetics. Remember they used to tell us that fruits was bad for diabetics? You know how much fruits I eat in the morning now? The sugar in fruits is not the sugar that's harmful to diabetics. It doesn't hurt you at all. Juicing is bad for diabetics because it takes away the fiber, and it only gives you the sugar in the juice in the water. You need the fiber to help slow the breakdown of rushing your sugar. Just the diet change. The people, Ryan, one of my favorite employees back there, raise your hand, Ryan, in the back. Ryan, high blood pressure? High blood pressure came and said, Eric, I don't want to get these pills that they're taking. How we do this? Switched, threw that meat out of his diet, dropped how many pounds? 20? 20 pounds. Dealt with the whole issue of high blood pressure, just a complete turnaround. I have a couple of staffers in here in the building now. I have about 7 staffers in the building who are going through the process, and they are just finding themselves, and they say, never going back, never going back. They just found themselves. They found their stride. They are just really engaged, and they see the difference in their bodies. The positive side effect is the weight loss. Great, fine, but that's not the main thing about it. That is a side effect. The main thing is the health from the inside out. How your body change is, you are going to be amazed. So what I like to say, give it 3 months. Just 3 months. Just say, I'm going to go on this 3-month commitment. Go to your doctors, do your blood work. Let them give you your cholesterol, your blood pressure, your PSA, all of those exams, and then come back in 3 months. And unlike those commercials that say, prior results is not guaranteed for future results, not this time. Your prior results is going to be the same result. The same thing that happened with me and others who did this, you are going to get the same result. Guaranteed. If you go nutrition/plant-based diet, you are going to change your health. And you will change the health of your loved ones. Best story I love, good friend of mine, have a multi-million-dollar business. Seizures every week, having 2 and 3 seizures once a week, falling out, waking up in the hospital, in the police stations, on the street, was going to close her business down. I said, listen, do me a favor, just try plant-based for 3 months. 3 months in, has not had one seizure. Not one seizure. Me, it may give me diabetes. You, it may give you heart disease. Another person may give colon cancer. Another person may give ovarian cancer. Another person may give heart disease. It comes out in different ways. One thing for sure, it's going to impact us all. Because it's poison. It's poison. And don't let anyone tell you, well, it runs in your family. You know I was saying here, it's not your DNA, it's your dinner. It's not your lineage, it's your lunch. It's not where you're born, it's your breakfast. That's what runs in our family. Every time great-great-grandmother handed down that Southern recipe, that Italian recipe, that Trinidadian, that Jamaican recipe, they handed down the diseases. It came with the recipe. It was built into the recipe. And nothing is more dangerous than coded into a culture something that is dangerous to the people who you're handing it down to. Let's break the chains. Let's tell Jordan, my son, Betty, your daughter, Horace, your son, let's stop here. Let's allow them to have productive, fruitful lives that is not going to be handicapped with disease. And we know disease hijacked your life. When you have a chronic disease, you're no longer yourself. Even when you're present, you're not present. You're thinking about that next test. Did it spread? How bad is it? Am I going to have this or that? Am I going to do 3 hours a day inside a dialysis center 3 days a week? Am I going to lose my sight? Am I going to have amputation? It just takes your life. Even when it's a loved one. Am I going to have to put mama in hospice? Am I going to have to tell dad? When dad died of prostate cancer the end of 2016, I could have saved my father. Countless number of people are going to have amputations. We could save them. This is when I think about what we're doing to the American family, it rips me apart that we can do much better. And the arrogance of just so many people in the medical professions who have the data and just refuse to embrace this. This has to be a people's movement. This must be a people's movement. That's the only way we could turn this around, is when we start demanding that they give us to allow our families to heal. And that is my goal as your borough president and my team here and those who we have met along the way. And let's just continue to spread this word. Everyone don't have to do what I did. But at least let's have the information So that when girlfriend comes to you and say, they want me to have another operation, they want me to put in another stent, they want me to do this or do that, you can at least say, hold on, there's another way. If I would have listened to the direction of the 5 doctors I've seen who said the loss of my eyesight was irreversible, I would not be the borough president because my eyesight was gone. If I would have listened to them when they said that the nerve damage in my fingers were permanent, I would have been going down the road to amputation. Can you imagine that? So how many people listened to their doctors and got the outcome that was expected? Now, we're not saying there are countless number of medical professionals who are doing the right thing, but this is your body. Your doctor is your advisor. He doesn't dictate to you. Demand that he do the research to give you the best choices that you can make so that you can live the healthy life that you want. So, great people, great team. We're going to start the process of showing how to cook. What are some of the things you can cook? This stuff is so easy. I go to restaurants now. I go down the menu, the side order menu, point out all the stuff I want, and I say just throw it all in the bowl because it's all going to the same place in my stomach. You know? Just learn all those tips. Just put all that food together. I have what's called a Buddha bowl, and I just mix everything up together, and you're going to explore food you never thought you knew or liked before. The curries. Curry is so powerful for you. Amla powder, so powerful for you. Turmeric, powerful for you. Cinnamon, powerful. Some of the seasoning is more powerful than the food. And when you start mixing all of this stuff together and seeing the power of those different spices mixed into your food is empowering. So the goal is just explore. Don't be afraid to explore. Don't be afraid to have bad days. Rebound from that. Good days are going to override those bad days. Try the different menu. Exchange recipes. Find substitutes, some great substitutes out there. Those of you who like cheese, there's a great substitute, nutritional yeast. I throw it on my pasta. It's just as good as the cheesy taste that you're looking for. The acquired taste, you'll get so many acquired tastes. I never thought I would drink almond milk. Love it. Learn how to do cheese using, what's those peanuts? Cashew nuts. See, some of you are already on board. You know, love it. Great recipes. Dr. Greg has a recipe book out now. You should get. How Not to Die cookbook. Great cookbook. Carry your food with you. Sometimes I go throughout the day. I have one of those bags that keep my food warm, and I go to different events, and I'll just pull it out and I eat while I'm there because the food out here is garbage. So I build my life around my meals. My meals are not built around my life. I got to fuel my body before I can do anything. If you have to drive a long distance, your car is going to say, when you run out of fuel, when you run out of gas, I'm not going anywhere without it. That's how I am with my body. This is your body. This is your destination. Everything must be built around your health, not your health built around everything else. We got this so wrong. Must be built around health. It's about children. It's about families. It's about raising healthy children and families. And this borough is going to cascade throughout the city and cascade throughout the country and cascade throughout the globe. More than the tree grows in Brooklyn, families grow in Brooklyn. Thank you.
Thank you, Borough President, for those words. So we have Marc Woods, plant-based health coach, who's going to give a presentation. After he speaks, Nzinga Young is going to do a food demonstration, and then everyone will get to taste one of the yummy meals she's going to be making. But I do want to add one thing. If you are currently on medication and you are thinking about making a severe lifestyle change, going plant-based, it is extremely important that you speak to your doctor beforehand. Making such a drastic change like going plant-based while you're on medication can have adverse effects if you're not speaking to your doctor, because what happens is you may need to modify those medications. It's a good thing. That means you're getting healthier. But if you're not doing it under the guidance of a doctor, it can cause some issues. Just please keep that in mind. So I'd like to introduce Marc Woods, who's been to Borough Hall a few times for our plant-based events, volunteered to give his talk to Brooklynites who are eager to learn some lifestyle tips. And we hope it's the first time that we see you here at Borough Hall. We're going to have another event in the spring, The Power of Spices. This is going to be an ongoing series throughout the year, so we hope to see you again. Marc, please.
Wow. How was that speech there from Eric Adams? Holy moly. So I'm going to have to try and follow that. So I tend to get really excited and passionate about this stuff, so you'll have to excuse my Brooklyn accent. No, originally I'm from Scotland. I've lived in New York 21 years, so I'm proud to call myself a New Yorker. Yeah, I'm let me get this here. There we go. I'm a vegan chef, vegan nutritionist, a health coach. I'm also a vegan triathlete. I'm entering my first Ironman this year, which is I'm very proud of, representing a vegan lifestyle. I'll be 49 in two weeks, so I'm very proud to live this lifestyle. So yeah, over the last few years, I've been coaching people like Heather and Neil. Heather and Neil are your typical Italian-American family, where we can relate with this. We know a lot of people who are obese. 2 in 3 people in America, actually the figures came out a few weeks ago, are obese. Obesity will collapse the American economy if it keeps on going this way. These guys were desperate. They already had 2 children, and they wanted another child. And they tried every diet in the book, and diets do not work. Diet industry is about $45 billion a year, and it's all bullshit. Lifestyle changes are going to have lifelong effects and positive outcomes. So when these guys reached out to me, I worked with them for a few weeks, about 4 weeks, and actually 6 weeks. And over the next year, these guys went from heart thinners, cholesterol pills, what else? Blood pressure medication, to this. So this is the power of food right here. Now, when you're obese, you really can't be exercising. It has to be done in the kitchen. With all that pressure on your hip, to your knee, to your ankle, you really has to, we need to start in the kitchen and then slowly exercise, maybe some soft walking and all that. But when you're obese, you need to lose it in the kitchen. These guys, like I said, they wanted a 3rd child. They couldn't do that. They want to walk down the aisles with their children. Their father and mother lived, Neil's father and mother lived downstairs, and he already had the open heart surgery and was dying. So when they reached out to me, it was just a beautiful thing, because you can't put a price on your health. And to this day, they still write to me saying thank you, and they look even better than this, by the way. And then somebody like Giorgio and Ed. Ed, 72 years old, big meteor all his life. Giorgio, 52. His partner was like, that's it, enough. We're going to die. We're not going to be here for each other. And this is what it's all about, Be here for each other. They reached out to me, worked with me for about 4 weeks. We cooked together twice a week over 4 weeks. And they soaked up all the information. And they're there today. Now, Giorgio wanted me to use this picture because that's, because look, it's just amazing. Giorgio also went down to Brazil, where his mother and sister were sick, and he taught what I taught them. And they're not sick anymore. It's just a beautiful thing. So when I say we speak from the heart, just like Eric was saying, this is what it's all about. Now, a lot of us, it's hard because the act of self-love really does start with what we put in this little hole here. It has a profound effect on our life. And what we know now in modern nutrition is that the food we eat either is our best friend or it's our worst enemy. And plant-based diets are your best friend. Do
you want the wireless?
Yeah. Thanks. So, you hear me? Yeah. So what do you eat? The biggest thing I get is, where do you get your protein from? So let me first say that protein is one of these things that's been pushed in America from the meat industry to try and let you guys know that you need X amount of protein. The average American eats about twice as much protein every day than they need, about 100, 105 grams. The average male needs about 55 grams of protein a day. The average female, about 45. Now, obviously, depending on your body size, some guys are huge. They're going to need a little bit more. Some guys are like myself are in the athletic world, so I use a little bit more. But the worst case of this is, you're getting their proteins from animal sources. Not even a true carnivore like a lion eats as much animal protein as the humans do. Lions eat about meat once a week. We eat it 3 times a day, maybe more. Different animals. And these animals, are pumped full of antibiotics, hormones. Now, hormones increase cell growth. This is so the meat industry can increase their profit margins. And that's okay. I mean, capitalism's a good thing, But at the same time, the bottom line is increased profit margins. They don't care about your health. They don't care about animals. And they definitely don't care about the environment. So, proteins. So my beef is lentils. My chicken is beans. Black beans, pinto beans, red kidney beans. You choose it. It's all there. Tofu. Amazing. Been around for thousands of years in Asia. They don't have cancer and all that. Now, somebody asked me before about estrogen. Well, I'll quickly cover this. Plant-based estrogen and mammal estrogen react differently in the body. What we know in the scientific world is plant-based estrogen does not cause cancer. The Cancer Society of America recommends 3 servings of soya a day to help fight cancer. So the meat industry propaganda backfired on them because plant estrogen and mammal estrogen react differently in the body. Now, if we're really worried about estrogen, we have to worry about live culture estrogen, which comes from milk and dairy. These things are poisonous. Now, our bodies have evolved to eat animal protein over the millennia, but you're talking 2 pieces a week, this size. Our bodies can process that. As a vegan, I can say that without any problem, But dairy does not belong in our body. Dairy, each mother creates its own dairy, its own formula, which is baby formula for its own kind. So something like a cow, the saturated fat and protein content in something like cow's milk helps grow that cow to 400 pounds in 12 months. Do you think that belongs in your body? So as soon as you eat anything like that, including meat, it inflames your body. And inflammation leads to stress in your body, leads to disease. And then quinoa. Quinoa is a South American grain that's been around it's actually a seed, but it's been around for millennia. Yeah, the Western world's just got a hold of it and it's blown up. So just alone, you have 4 choices that could replace your chicken, your pig, your beef, and your turkey right there. None of the hormones, none of the antibiotics, none of the saturated fats that are found in meats, none of the things that are killing our family members. Simple as that. So, carbohydrates. A lot of misinformation about carbohydrates. The bottom line is this. There's good carbohydrates and there's bad carbohydrates. A good carbohydrate is something like fruit, vegetables, like sweet potatoes. You've got whole grains. Quinoa, you've even got carbohydrates in it. These are the things that get us up in the morning and give us energy. Without good carbohydrates, which are called complex carbohydrates, we could not get up in the morning. We need complex carbohydrates. 65% of your diet should be good carbohydrates. Bad carbohydrates. So this is called a simple carbohydrate. It's simple because they've taken out the fiber, like Eric Adams just told us. So when you take the fiber out of something, it spikes the blood sugar. It makes the sugar in the food enter our system, rushes in there. So that rush you get from a Coca-Cola, that high, and then that dump, that's exactly what you're experiencing. So donuts, all that lovely comfort food. I know you're shaking your head there. But this stuff is killing you. And forget about our kids. I can't tell you how bad refined sugar is for your brain and our children. So when I see And I know it's tough. I see parents on the subway or walking the street and they've got their Tropicana. Yeah, Tropicana's full of sugar. It's Coca-Cola and all that, and you wonder why kids are getting all these ADD and all this stuff. It really screws with our brain. So we really should be drinking much more water, you know, much more fresh juices. You can press your own orange juice, you know. You don't need a fancy machine. You can get by oranges and just press it if you want a fresh orange juice. Things like Tropicana, all that, they're pumped full of sugar. It says all natural. You look into what all natural means. It ain't natural at all. Get the orange, eat the orange. Eating the whole orange is much better than juicing the orange, by the way, as well. You know, but juicing does have its benefits because you're getting a lot of macronutrients, which are vitamins and minerals, in a quick rush. Now, if you're diabetic, you wouldn't do that, you know. And I'll touch on the diabetic thing as well. If you are going to change, if you are type 2 diabetic or type 1, you are going to change to a plant-based diet, it's very important you do consult your doctor because the glucose you're taking in the insulin, along with the real sugars, will spike your blood sugar and you'll go hypoglycemic, which will kill you. So this has to be done in balance with your doctor. And there's many doctors in New York now that are on the board with this, and there's a lot that are not, and will just shake their head at you saying, don't believe that you can cure your diabetes, but as you see, your amazing Brooklyn Borough President cured himself of type 2 diabetes. So, you know, this is the truth. So bad carbohydrates, avoid them. Highly addictive, refined sugars, the most addictive food we know on the planet. So admit your addiction, face it, and go back to eating the good carbs. Eat your blueberries, eat your bananas, eat your apples. There's no such thing as too much fruit. Healthy fats. Here we go. Nuts, seeds, avocados, all the healthy fats. Omega fatty acids, 3, 6, and 9. These are the healthy fats. We want to stay away from saturated fats, hydrogenated oils, things that are found in fried food, any of that Kentucky Fried Chicken, all that deep fried food, apart from the arsenic in the chicken and the high cholesterol in chicken. Yeah, chicken has more bad cholesterol than red meat. They've never told you that. You deep fry that, you're just increasing the carcinogenic nature of the food. What's the second biggest killer in the Western world? Cancer. Cancer, yeah. So healthy fats, and maybe 5-10% of your diet every day. A handful of walnuts every day, your healthy omega-6s, you know, great for you. Pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, I mean, all these beautiful things in nature. Avocado, have an avocado every day. It's been proven that these healthy fats not only help you absorb the nutrients in food, because it's important to have a healthy food in our meals, a healthy fat, sorry, because the healthy fat helps the absorption of nutrients. So when you have a healthy fat in your diet, in your meal, it helps all those nutrients benefit your body much more. Then you've got your bad fats. Oils, don't tell me oils are bad. Yeah, olive oil, sunflower oil, all oils, processed oils are not good. Olive oil too. Now, people say this all the time, olive oil, Mediterranean diet. The Mediterranean diet was done in a study in the 50s, and it was a completely different time, and it was done on a subject, people that lived on an island. They worked the fields, they had great social systems, they ate very little meat and much more plants. So it was a whole combination of things. Now, I'm on the other side. When you're super healthy, yeah, you can have a little bit of olive oil in that. But when you're on the ill health side of it, you want to avoid all these unhealthy fats because you're carrying all that fat already. You know, and that fat will lead to obesity, it will lead to type 2 diabetes, it will lead to cancer, it will lead to an early death. You do not see old, obese people. So you've got unhealthy fats like oils. People ask, what do you cook with? I cook with water. A little bit of water, you know. Cook your onions and garlic, it dries up, add a little bit more water. It does the same job, except you're not putting the unhealthy fats and, you know, the carcinogenic nature of oils in your food. So stay away from all these oils at the beginning, you know. Cook with water. Lard, holy crap, that takes me back to Scotland. Wow. My dad, bless his soul, you know, he used to cook homemade chips, as we call them, French fries, you call them here, and potatoes straight from the garden, and then cut them up, and then we got this big pan of lard, and of course we keep it because they could tastier and tastier, not knowing that that was the thing that was slowly killing him. Fiber. There we go. Fiber is such an underused nutrient. Let's remember, there's 5 macronutrients. A macronutrient is something that we need a lot of every day: protein, carbohydrates, healthy fats, fiber, and water. Fiber is only found in plants. Fiber regulates how food processes in our gut. Now, we have 2 brains. We have our brain here, but we also have a smaller brain in our intestine, in the lower intestine. This dictates this brain. So your gut flora, gut bacteria, is what it's about. We need to create a healthy gut bacteria, and fiber has a huge part in that. So leafy greens, I mean, all plants, all fruits, all vegetables are full of fiber. But leafy greens, I recommend people have a big salad at least once a day. Mix it up. Have your arugula, have your collard greens, have your spinach, your kale. I mean, just mix it up. Look at the wide variety of greens here. It's just amazing. You can't go wrong. And then water. You know, water is something that, you know, we need to drink every day. Water is also found in plants. So the more fruits and vegetables you eat, you're getting more water in your system. The more you stick to sodas and juices, it's just sugar. So plant proteins, good carbohydrates, lots of healthy fats, a little bit healthy fats, lots of fiber, all only found in plants, and water. And I'd like to say also that fiber, we have in our stomach, we have the lining on our stomach has little sensors, and it picks up how much fiber is in the food. It tells your brain when you're full. It's fiber that fills you up. So most Americans do not know what true hunger is or true fullness is, because the meat they eat isn't got no fiber, it's dense. So you remember that feeling? I can't remember, it's so long ago, but I've been at people's houses after the Thanksgiving day, and the guys are there, and they've had their steak. And I'm the only one standing with all the women. Hey, what's it, you know? It's a lion. A lion sleeps 78% of its life to digest that meat. And that's a carnivore, and it has the enzyme that breaks down saturated fat. We do not have that enzyme. That's why it builds up, builds up, builds up. Heart disease, biggest killer in the Western world. 700,000 people last year. Can't tell how many people that is that every hour. Holy crap. That's a lot of people dying. Transition foods. So here we go. You want your burger? You want your chicken? Here we go. Something like the Beyond Meat burger here, Beyond Burger. This thing bleeds because it's made from beetroots. Tastes almost the same if you're into that thing. Much better for you. Great source of protein, none of the saturated fats found in the meat, none of the hormones, none of the chemicals. And forget the cruelty, but I'm not going to go into that. Gardein, one of the best products on the market. You get crab, you get chicken, you get shrimp, you get all this stuff. Now, I tell people it's all about whole foods. You want your beans, your lentils, your quinoa, and your tofus and your tempehs, much first and foremost. But we crave these things. So if you're at your Thanksgiving or your barbecue, buy the Impossible Burger up here. The Beyond Meat, look at them. I mean, they taste, they look the same, and I've fooled friends with them. I've fooled friends. I'll never eat vegan food. Here we go. Oh man, it's the best burger I've ever had. It's vegan. Oh. Yeah, the word vegan puts people off because I can't teach veganism because it's a moral and ethical choice. I teach plant-based nutrition. So something like these transition foods, that really doesn't, you know, it leaves you so many options that why would you need to go back to the stuff that's killing our family members, you know? Physical excellence. So yeah, like I said, my father passed of heart disease. My 2 brothers, who were 5 and 6 years older than me, both got heart disease. I started doing triathlons last year, and I'll be doing my first Ironman this year, half Ironman. That's me in the Westchester, West Mass, representing. I got so much support. I was sponsored by certain vegan companies, and so many people were so supportive. Yeah, go vegan and all that. It was great. But that's nothing compared to these guys. My friend Tori, the bodybuilder, almost raw plant-based. Magical. Look, I'm 42 years old. Serena Williams, best female tennis player of all time. I'm a big tennis fan, but she is the best player of all time, plant-based. Her sister, Venus, actually had to go plant-based because of stomach issues. Found out how great she felt, told her sister. Sister never looked back, and it's obviously, like I said, the best female tennis player of all time. Ooh. Oh. Well, I'm missing a slide here as well, but that's okay. I'll go back here. Yeah, I've got somebody like Carl Lewis. Carl Lewis, as we all know, the famous African-American runner, athlete, in the 80s, wasn't performing. He said he heard about plant-based food, went on a plant-based diet, won 4 gold medals, and he's at 32 years old, and to this day promotes veganism within the African-American community. Magical stuff. So yeah, here we go, caring for our future. What can I say? This really is about learning this knowledge and sharing it with each other. You know, sharing it with our loved ones, sharing it with our families, helping each other. You know, it's really an act of self-love. We have to get ourselves out our own way, the conditioning we're brought up with. I was brought up eating meat and dairy. People say, well, I was brought up in Argentina, I was brought up in Spain. I was brought up in Scotland. I mean, one of the best beef products in the world, you know. There's no excuses anymore. The only excuse is the reasons you make not to change. And that change will stop you in your tracks. Change is constant in life. So, you know, I can't say the profound effects that all the people I've worked with that stuck to this have had. And you talk about Neil and Heather, who wanted their 3rd child, who couldn't have it because she was obese. Well, Heather and Neil went on. This baby has never had meat or dairy in its life, not even from conception, for the 9 months to the 2 years old it is now. The doctor, for the first 2 months, was like going crazy. You have to have your dairy, you have to have your meat. And she'd call me up, and I'd say, listen, I'm not a doctor, but I can put you onto doctors and all these websites. And she did. And she said, no, I'm not going to do it. The doctor didn't say anything after 2 months. Why? Because the numbers don't lie. She was never in hospital once. With the previous 2 children, she was in and out of hospital all the time. So when you talk about, you know, plant-based diets and optimal health, you can't get better than this. I mean, not one bit of meat and dairy, and this is the healthiest baby they've had. 9 pounds, 8 ounces when he was born, by the way. So, yeah, guys, I'll wrap up now and I'll say, you know, if I had a time machine, I wish I could go back and speak to my dad. But I can't. He's gone. Somebody asked me before, veganism is extreme. Eating plants is extreme. What happened to my dad was extreme. They cut his breastplate open with a saw. They opened it up. They took a vein from his leg. They put it in his heart. And that was just the beginning. Didn't the child change his diet? So he went on to have another aneurysm. Went on to have another aneurysm, which they said, we can't operate, live your life. And a year later, he died. We don't have to suffer that fate. We're here, we're now. We can learn to change, adopt better, healthier foods that do not kill us. We live in an age of sick care where it should be health care. And true health care is self-care. And true health care is whole food, plant-based diets. So I embrace you all. Actually, this is amazing, actually. This is to see all you people here wanting to inform yourself, because knowledge is power. I can give you the knowledge, and you can gain more knowledge in the world of, you know, there's so much information out there. But this is up to you to take this knowledge and to spread this news. And I see some faces that I know that are starting this journey, and they're already feeling it. A weekend of dairy and sugar, watch your skin change. Watch how you feel, the energy levels jump up. So like I said, if I had a time machine, I would go back, and I'd tell my dad, come on, we can do this. But I can't, but you can. So thank you very much, and thank you.
Q&A?
Yeah. And if anybody has any questions, please, let's fire away.
Questions? Young lady over here.
Thank you so much. That was fantastic. One quick question. You just mentioned sugar, and I'm like, uh-oh. Splenda or things like that, okay or no?
No, well, I'll tell you right now, there's one sugar above all that is the only sugar we should have. and actually full of antioxidants as well. It's date sugar. Yeah, what the hell is date sugar? Date sugar.
Great.
What they've done is they've took dates, they've dried them out, crushed them, nothing processed. This is a dried out date made in sugar. You can buy it at Whole Foods, make a trip down there, you buy a big bag, it'll last you a while. Date sugar has antioxidants in it as well. Use date sugar, that's the only. Molasses is amazing as well. But all that other stuff, Splenda, NutraSweet, aspartame, forget about it. Maple syrup is sweet, but it's like I said. Yeah, I prefer people to move to a whole food, and that's all I recommend. Move away from chemically used processed foods. Whole food will always react in your body much better than anything that's been processed by man.
Hello.
Ma'am, over here.
Yes.
In the blue?
Can you hear me? You didn't mention fish, and I'd like to know the name of your book. What about fish?
Yeah, Dr. Greger is the doctor that has the book, and it's called How Not to Die. So that's a great question. Fish. I come from a fishing village in Scotland. There is no fishing industry left because we've overfished the oceans. But when it comes to the health, so fish in the vegan world are the most toxic of all the meats. Where do they live? They live in the oceans. The oceans are more polluted now, 20 times more mercury level. Those fish, it soaks into their skin, you eat that. The tuna populations, tuna being the biggest eating fish that we know, have shrunk. Tunas used to be, I can't even get my arms out that wide. They're catching small ones because they're overpopulated. Tuna are the most poisonous of all the fish. And remember, the ecosystem, these fish that eat each other, they rely on each other. So the ecosystem in the oceans is being destroyed because of overfishing and the need for fish. If you're talking about fish oils and you're talking about really omega-3s, the fish get it from algae. Let's forget the fish. It's like the meat we eat. The meat we eat, those animals are getting their protein from plants. We are going further down the food chain. Let's cut out that middle one and go straight to the top of the food chain, plants. All plants are medicine. The father of medicine, Hippocrates, 2,300 years ago, said, let thy food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. He told us not to eat animals' protein. 2,300 years ago.
Bennett in the back.
Hi, you mentioned soybeans. Is soybeans good for you?
Soy is a great source of protein, fiber, and it's a it's a great carbohydrate and has a healthy fat. So it is truly a great source of protein and macronutrients. The meat industry put out is the estrogen thing about soy and tofu. It's the estrogen. We know that estrogen reacts differently in the human body than mammal estrogen. It does not harm us. The Cancer Society of America, go onto their website, recommends 3 servings of soya a day for cancer, to fight cancer. Any study that you might see that says otherwise, look at who's funding those studies. It's usually the meat and dairy industry. So when you talk about Dr. Greger looks through all the information. He comes from a non-biased healthcare perspective, not sick care. We have big vested interest groups, meat, dairy, sugar, that are not about your health. So mammal estrogen is something you worry about. Mammal estrogen comes from dairy.
Hi. What are your thoughts on vegan protein powder and incorporating that into some of your recipes? Is that okay?
Yeah. Well, most of it is like a soya isolate. So I'm not big into isolated forms of proteins. Pea protein is a great protein. Ideally, when I get tofu, soft tofu, and I blend that up in my smoothie. That's much better for you than a protein powder that's been processed. And you probably find that when you have that stuff, it gives you a lot of gas and all that. It's because of the isolated protein. You really want to go to the whole food source. So that industry is another big industry. These muscle builder, big bodybuilder guys, they get paid a lot of money to advertise this stuff. They don't eat that. Muscle, they know that muscle, they eat shit kind of meats and fish and all that stuff. But bodybuilders, when they're 40s, when they get to my age, heart disease, IBS, all that. Schwarzenegger was the same. Schwarzenegger promotes a plant-based diet these days. There's many bodybuilders, even Barney DePalusis, Mr. Universe 2016, he's a vegan. Like I said, the athletic world is slowly changing. I think it's Kyrie Irving, the #1 basketball player just now, plant-based. Talking about how great it feels. Living of the Titans football team, plant-based through Dr. Neil Bernard from PCRM. Lewis Hamilton, probably going to be in the best world Formula One driver, plant-based. So, I can go on and on and on. So.
We're going to take 2 more questions, one back here and then one back here. Ma'am?
I just want some clarity on olive oil. You're saying olive oil isn't good?
When you're carrying excess fat, the last thing you want to do is put processed fats in your body, unhealthy fats, So when you're on that side of health, we really want to stay away from that. And like you say, we can make dressings for salad, if that's what you're worried about, from water, from vinegars and lemons and garlic. It's a simple recipes you can find online that you make your dressings. Are actually much cheaper as well. And they have none of the harmfulness in it. So we really, there's a great doctor called Dr. McDougall that has a whole book on this. You can look him up in his oils. So what I recommend is SOS, is no salt, no oil, no sugar.
One more in the back. Bennett?
Are there any plants or food that you would recommend for people that have mental health issues as well as drug issues?
What was this? I got the mental health, but what was this? Drugs. Well, it's a great question, actually. So I just worked with a vegan psychologist, and he himself is starting to understand. They're only really touching on this in the medical world about the effects of food and our brain chemistry. But let me just say that it's same within the athletic world. Plants offer us oxygen. More oxygen to the brain, more oxygen to the muscles means better output and energy and better recovery time. So I'm on the belief, and the scientific world is shifting in the way that the foods we eat have a detrimental effect on our moods and our condition. And of course, processed foods high in all these chemicals, the E's. There's a lot of food colorings and additives here that are banned in Europe. You guys don't know this, but they're banned because of the effects that has on our brain. So I'm a big believer that we eat healthier, we'll have healthier brains, happier people, healthier people. I do, but the science is still working on that, And there's another doctor, I've done a presentation, Dr. Joel Fuhrman. His new book, I think, addresses the mental state of society with their diets. So Dr. Joel Fuhrman, look up his new book. Like I say, I'm not a doctor, but he addresses that in his new book.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Marc, so much for the wonderful presentation. We get a big round of applause for Marc. We're going to have Nzinga Young from Vegan Outreach set up. And while she's setting up, I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit. And let's talk about breast milk. Who wants to talk about breast milk? Anybody? Okay. How does the idea of drinking a cup of a woman's breast milk sound to you? Icky, gross. I mean, does it sound appetizing? No, right? When you're eating cheese, when you're eating butter, when you're having some yogurt, guess what you're having? You're having a cup of that cow's breast milk. It's the same thing. When you think about the process of a woman and how she lactates and feeds her child. I nursed my son for a year. So that process goes, I have to give birth. I have to give birth to a baby. My body turns on my hormones, chock full of hormones, telling my body to produce breast milk for my son. I nursed him for a year. About 2 weeks after I stopped nursing him, factory closed, no more breast milk. That's it. My body no longer has those hormones flowing through my system. Now think about that cow. Think about where you're getting that butter. Think about where you're getting that milk. Think about that yogurt. That cow, it's the same process, needs to have those hormones on and on and on to produce that breast milk. That cow will give birth once. How do you think that cow's going to produce all that breast milk? Where do you think those hormones come from? Anybody? Take a guess? Go over there. They what? No, they don't keep pregnant all the time. Nope, it's the pharmaceutical companies pump them up with hormones. That's what they do. They keep those hormones flowing into those dairy cows to produce that milk for you. Guess where those hormones go? Into our bodies. All those reproductive hormones, that estrogen, I mean, this stuff is not meant for us to consume. It goes into your body. So next time you put some cream cheese on that bagel, just think about what I'm talking about. Next time you have that cup of milk, just think about what I'm saying. If you want milk, you can have milk. There are now so many options in the supermarket. There's almond milk, there's cashew milk, there's flaxseed milk, there's soy milk, there's coconut milk. I saw a face over there. She don't like it. Oh, yeah. So I've been doing a lot of research. I'm taking this plant-based nutrition course from eCornell. One of the things I've learned is that women in the United States start their reproductive cycle, start their menstruation at an earlier age than women do in areas where they do not consume dairy or animal proteins. We're talking about 4-year difference. And what happens to all that exposure in a lifetime, women are then exposed to more estrogen. Long-term exposure to estrogen is linked to breast cancer. So there's a direct link between what we're eating and the animal protein that we're consuming and cancer. And the data is there. Processed meat. Don't do it. If you're going to walk out of this room today with one thing, know this. Processed meat is on the list of carcinogens. It's a group 1 carcinogen. There is a direct link between the overconsumption of hot dogs, salami, cold cuts, bacon. It's a big one. I loved bacon. I broke up with bacon. I no longer eat bacon. You don't need to have it. I know you love it. You know what? Say to yourself, I loved it for a long time. Me and bacon, broke up. Me and cheese, see you later. You don't need it. Yep, I know it's a tough one, but you know what? You'll feel better in the end. Butter, nah, that's okay. You'll be okay without butter. Nzinga, how you doing? You ready to rock? Okay.
My name is Nzinga. I work for an international nonprofit called Vegan Outreach. I want to thank all of you for being here this evening. It's a chilly night, and you probably had other things to do, and you decided to be in this space to learn about the importance of plant-based eating and taking care of your body. So that's amazing. That says so much about everyone here, and I'm honored to be in this space. So thank you for sharing this with me. What we're going to do is a quick demo. We're going to do about 3 simple vegan recipes. My job with the organization is to go around to different areas and show people how easy and affordable it can be to adopt a plant-based diet. Me personally, it took me 5 years to transition from knowing that veganism was the right decision to actually doing it, because I didn't know what to make. And I was eating the same things over and over, and it got boring. So I think if we have some go-to recipes, it makes the process a lot easier, okay? All right, so we'll get started. So the first thing we're gonna look at is a garlic white bean pesto sauce. I think people are generally familiar with the pesto sauce as being a pretty flavorful and healthy sauce. What makes this really great is we're gonna add some white beans into it. A lot of people question where vegans get their protein from. Am I really loud? No? Yeah, yes, right? Okay. All right, we'll keep going. So I think one really good thing about having white beans added to different sauces is because it adds the protein factor. So all foods have protein. You don't really have to worry about getting enough protein on a plant-based diet. If you're eating a varied diet, you'll get all the amino acids that you need, and you'll be wonderful, okay? But one good thing about adding it to sauces, it just gives a little extra oomph. So we're gonna do the white beans, some roasted garlic. With this, you don't have to use roasted garlic. I like the flavor a bit better, and roasting garlic is actually really easy. We're gonna use the roasted garlic, obviously some basil. One way to also kind of ramp up the vitamin and nutrient content in a pesto is to add a raw green. You can add kale to a pesto dish, and because basil is so flavorful, it'll overpower the taste of any sort of bitter green, but you'll still get a lot of the nutrients. We'll do some lemon juice, and everybody should get, if you got this little handout, the recipe will be on here. So no need to write anything down. It's right there downstairs. Maple syrup is optional. I didn't add maple syrup to this, and it's just as delicious, okay? We want to be careful about our sugar content. I am using a food processor. I know a lot of people don't have food processors. For one, we're going to be raffling off 2 food processors at the end of this, so hopefully you'll get one by the time you leave, yes? And 2, you can also just mash this up. They make just metal mashers that you can go ahead and just mash it really well. So we're gonna see if this is actually plugged in and working. There we go. Okay. So we're gonna blend everything up with real good. If we stop in the middle, it becomes more of a spread. So this is gonna be really thick and viscous. We can use this as a spread for bread, for wraps, for different sandwiches, and it becomes really, really wonderful, okay, and very flavorful. If we continue to blend it and maybe add a little bit more vegetable broth, that's when it becomes more of a sauce. We can use this on pasta, we can use this on vegetables, we can use this on really anything that we would use another sauce for. It can also be used as a dressing, as a salad dressing. So what I try to find different recipes that can be as versatile as possible so that you're not making a bunch of different things, you know? So this is one thing, the garlic, white bean, basil pesto sauce. You have the option of also adding in different seeds. Sometimes I'll add sunflower seeds into this because sunflower seeds are really accessible, but they're also really high in protein. So those are a good seed to have around if you're following a plant-based diet, okay? So that's one of our things, and again, we have this little handout if you wanted to take one. We'll do that last because we're gonna be tasting this. I do a massage kale salad. I'm not gonna actually make it here, but essentially what it is about adding as many ingredients to your salads as possible. Salads can be filling if you add the right things to them. So there's certain go-tos for every salad. One, I always add a grain to my salad. So it can be rice. This is quinoa here. It can be rice. Quinoa is really good because quinoa is a complete protein. So again, we're always concerned about making sure we're getting varied sources of protein from the diet that we're with. So always making sure that we're adding a little bit of grains to our salad. I always make sure that I'm adding a cooked vegetable. This is broccoli just because I like broccoli, but there are different vegetables, any sort of steamed vegetable that you personally like. Make sure that you're adding to your salad. Adding something warm to a salad is also really important in the winter, just making sure we're getting things to get our body moving, okay? So we'll add some broccoli to this. Anyone know what this is? Can you see in the front row? No, this is sauerkraut. So not a lot of people will think about sauerkraut and anything other than a hot dog. Sauerkraut is amazing in a salad. It adds a really nice flavor, and because of the ferment, it's really good for your stomach to actually have some sauerkraut and some things. I put sauerkraut in every single salad that I make, some sandwiches too, and it's a really nice addition. So think about adding this to your salad. She's asking about sodium. You should read the label. Yeah. I actually personally make my own sauerkraut. I know that's not a thing that everybody can do. She was wondering about sodium levels and about them being fermented. There are certain brands, and you can definitely ask me after, that are a little easier on that, definitely. So we'll do this. I'll always add some tomatoes just because I personally like tomatoes, and having something wet is always wonderful. And then you'll do some sort of plant-based protein if that's what works for you. Sometimes people will do some of the tofurkey brands, or you can just do another thing of sauteed beans and add them to your salad. But just thinking about how many moving parts can happen with your salad, making sure that it's not just greens and a few things on it. It can actually be very, very filling. So that's one thing. The next thing, this is actually what we're going to be tasting downstairs. This is just a very simple, easy, homemade vegan pasta sauce. One of the wonderful things about making your own sauce is you can control what's in it. A lot of sauces have a lot of sugar in them and a lot of salt. So one of the good things about making them at home is, one, it's a lot cheaper because you're getting all the ingredients yourself. Two, you're controlling the amount of things that are in the sauce. And three, it's kind of fun to make. I think personally it tastes much better than the canned sauce. So what we did here is we did do some canned crushed tomatoes, some basil, some tomato paste, and then I also added a bit of the roasted garlic. And we did some sun-dried tomatoes and some basil on the top. And it's a very simple, easy, quick thing to whip together. You can also make a big batch of the sauce and be able to have it for quite some time. So this is actually what will be downstairs for everyone to be able to try, along with a quinoa salad and some fruit. being able to prepare your own plant-based meals is going to be really important if you're considering and doing things to improve your health and eat a bit better. So I always think it's really important. I hope all of you got one of these when you came in, the Guide to Animal-Free Eating. There are some other really interesting recipes in here. On top of that, there are some resources to other websites and cookbooks that are really, really helpful in terms of helping you incorporate new plant-based meals into your diet. Just do 1 second, we'll do Q&A at the end. So definitely take a look at this. If you all have any other questions, either now or later on, definitely let me know, and I'm around to answer anything you may need. Does anyone have any questions now about anything? Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
That we could get instead of just plain pasta?
Absolutely. So she's asking, she says she knows that there are pastas that are made of beans and lentils and other things. Absolutely. So there are a lot of chickpea-based pastas and bean-based pastas. Those are really good if, one, you have gluten intolerance or you're trying to be gluten-free or cut down on the amount of wheat you're eating. These bean-based or chickpea-based pastas are wonderful options. The texture is going to be different, not that much different. I make them all the time, actually. They're also really good, again, if you're concerned about the amount of protein that you're getting, using a pasta that's based on something like a chickpea is a wonderful thing because your protein is already going to be in the pasta. So it's a wonderful. They're definitely a different price point, and they can be a bit harder to find. That's the only issue. They can be a bit harder to find depending on where you live. Yeah, so that can be something. Yes?
Vitamin B12 on a plant-based diet.
What would I recommend? A supplement. Yeah, I take a B12 supplement every day. So vitamin B12 is the only nutrient that you cannot get on a plant-based diet because it has to interact with an animal. So it really is important once you go completely vegan to make sure that you're supplementing with B12. I take B12 and I take a multivitamin every day just to make sure I'm getting anything. But that's for anyone on any diet. There are B12 deficiencies all over. There are nutrient deficiencies all over. So making sure that you supplement, yes. Other questions? Yes. Oh. Yeah.
So coconut milk, you guys probably already heard me. Wondering if it's healthy or if it's unhealthy. I use it a lot and make curries with it.
I personally love coconut milk. Some people have issues with the fat content, so coconuts naturally have a high fat content. If that's your personal concern, it's best to stay away from certain coconut milks. You can get a lighter coconut milk that'll have less fat. I know, it doesn't taste the same, right? I use coconut milk all the time in my cooking, so I think it's just gonna be a personal decision based on your own dietary needs. Yeah, thank you. Hi.
Hi, question.
Yeah.
Water.
Yes.
pH, distilled, bottled, from the faucet?
Good question. So this is veering a little away from veganism, but I personally don't drink water from the faucet just because of my concerns about the minerals and things that are in them. I also have issues with buying all this plastic. So it can be really hard. At this point, I have a Poland Spring subscription. Because I feel like I'm still using less plastic because it's a big thing. So do you have one also? Yeah. So they'll deliver a half a gallon or a gallon of water, and you have a dispenser, and it's just water on tap, hot and cold water on tap. Yes?
Hi. My question is that we all hear and talk about all these things, but what are we doing to bring the prices down so the regular people can afford, and it's not just for the rich people? Are we going to just stop subsidizing the farmers, that they are putting all this sort of a poison in the market and just giving to all these vegan subsidiaries or something like that? Are we doing is government doing something like that for?
So I can't answer with the government. What I can answer is in terms of the That's a wonderful question. In terms of the classes that I teach, I make sure, one, that I mostly teach in Brownsville. I make sure that the groceries that I get are from the local grocery stores, Seatown, Food Mart, to make sure that wherever I'm teaching a class, anyone in that neighborhood can be able to find the same groceries. Same with everything here can be found at any grocery store. So I try to use that to combat it. But there is definitely a big issue with the prices of certain specialty vegan foods. What I would challenge you a little bit on is some of the staple things are a bit more affordable than we give vegan food credit for. So it's hard because you have to think a little bit more creatively, but there is absolutely a problem. Within Vegan Outreach, there are certain things that they're working on and doing. That's just not my role, so I don't have a lot more information, but I'd be happy to chat with you about it after. Yeah,
Thank you. We'll take one more question.
Yes.
Ma'am?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do you know anything about cooking with palm oil? Is that red oil?
Yeah, I don't, no, I don't use palm oil at all. So, so yeah, there are a lot of issues with palm oil. So I actually don't even buy things that have palm oil in them because of all of the problems. There's so many other wonderful, cleaner oils to use. And you feel free to ask me after, and we can talk about that. Great.
Thank you,
great.
Nzinga,
Great,
so
great.
much. A round of applause for
Yes,
Nzinga.
thank you.
And Nzinga and Marc, we have 2 raffles, 2 giveaways. So we're going to ask Marc to pull one out and Nzinga to pull one out. Everybody get your raffle tickets. I mean, excuse me, your getaway tickets. Giveaways. And just, before I do that, with the oil, there was an oil question. You don't need to cook with oil. You can air fry, you can bake, you can saute. Oil is just added saturated fat you're adding to your diet. You'll be okay without oil. I promise you, you'll be fine. I know you'll miss it. Break up with it. It's time to break up with the bad. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Okay. And before we do, go ahead, you can pull it.
I'm using my vegan power.
The vegan power. I also want to give a special thank you to Whole Foods, who provided all the food that you're going to be eating here tonight. They are downstairs. They are getting ready to open a new location here in Fort Greene. They have some fun, yummy little giveaways for you on your way out. So a big thank you to our sponsor, Whole Foods. Marc, if you could read off the numbers.
Okay. 3, 0, 2, 6, 3, 7.
Hi.
Oh, you're the winner.
Congrats. And we're raffling up, just so you know, it's a food processor, so you can.
Okay, and Nzinga?
Yes.
That's it.
It's a winner.
Oh.
Are they stuck together?
Yeah, I picked one. Okay, 302659. Anybody?
659, ending in 659. Anybody? 659. If you're not in the room, you got to be in it to win it. No. Okay.
Okay. Okay, 302399. Yes.
399.
Hey.
Let's see. Let's just make sure. 302399.
Yes, ma'am.
We have a winner. Here you go. Enjoy.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, we have some delicious plant-based vegan food downstairs. Remember, challenge yourself. You don't need the meat. You don't need the dairy. Say bye-bye to cream cheese. Say bye-bye to butter. You don't need it. I promise you, you'll feel better. Thank you, everyone, and have a good night. Thank you all for coming.